So first, in a new series of recordings, re-recording old videos with better technology, hopefully. So we're going to have a redo of Education and Society Part 1 to record the definition of these crucial concepts: education, society, what's going on. Keywords: function, what something does, positive, norms and values, you should know that by now. Secondary socialization, you really must know that by now. And achieve status. Okay, let's crack straight on, shall we? When we look at schools in the UK, we have to ask ourselves several questions. How come we spend 6% of all the money we've got, £60 billion per year, on schools? How come we've passed a law that will send parents to prison if their kids don't go to schools? This is quite an extreme thing that we do. How come? We don't pass laws saying you will send your parents to prison if you don't go to the park. We do say we'll send your parents to prison if you don't go to school. What do we teach in schools? These men are coopers. They're making barrels for a living. None of you lot know how to make barrels. You weren't taught it in schools. How do we decide what to teach in schools? These are some of the questions we're trying to answer today and in other lessons coming up. So, functionalists, what do they think about schools? Well, if you remember, to a functionalist, life looks a bit like this. It's a very complicated machine, lots of small cogs, and it works beautifully as long as all the cogs do what they're meant to do. They serve their function. The mechanical analogy. So to functionalists, schools work like this. First off, they put the right people into the right job, the one they are most suited to. If you are clever and you work hard, you can be a doctor, you can be an engineer. If you are stupid and you are lazy, you can't have that sort of job. And that's good. School helps sort out who's best to do what. It teaches you the skills society needs. That's why we don't teach coopering in schools. Instead, we have a lot of ICT lessons, computer lessons, maths, English, because they're the skills we decided our society needs, our economy needs. In terms of the culture, it teaches people that rely on themselves. You will sit your exams. Nobody else will sit them for you. The class won't sit them. The school won't sit them. You will sit them. And you will have to rely on yourself. And that's the way life works in our country, in our culture. Linked to that, it teaches that life is about individual achievement. The value, that's a value. Individual achievement, not the group. Like I say, you will sit your exams, nobody else. And to a functionalist, schools are fair. Everybody sits the same exams at the end of year 11. Everyone gets the same chance. It's fair. You're clever and you work hard, you do well. You're not very clever, you don't do any work, you do badly. That is fair. It is a meritocracy. It all depends on how hard you've worked and how clever you are. So to a functionalist, our school system is, broadly speaking, positive. To Marxists, it's not. To Marxists, it's all about hegemony and the bourgeoisie exploiting the working class, oppressing them, keeping them down. And to a Marxist, schools are part of that system, that false consciousness system. So to a Marxist, schools teach you to accept authority, to do as you're told, to obey. Lots of rules, people in charge of you. And you go through the schooling system, by the time you've finished it, you're used to being told what to do. You're used to doing what you're told to do. Schools are a pyramid structure. One head teacher, various teachers, is linked to all this. And again, once you leave school, you're used to that. You don't question it. As for what you do in school, Marxists notice there's no enjoyment in the work. You do lessons and you don't enjoy them. And that's just like having a job. Often people have jobs they don't enjoy. They do them because they need the money. And schools are getting you used to that. There's no choice of the work. You don't choose what to do. You don't choose when to do it. Instead, you're told what to do and when to do it. And to a Marxist, well, that's again getting you used to being a worker. You work for a reward. In schools, you don't enjoy English, but you do work hard in English because you want the grade. That's the reward. It's exactly the same when you've got a job. You don't like the job, but you want a reward, the money. And to a Marxist, the work is graded. The people are graded. In schools, your work is graded. You are told what sort of person you are, what sort of student you are. And again, you're used to that. When you leave school, this happens and you are used to it. So to a Marxist, school for working class kids is a false or a pretend meritocracy. It looks fair. It pretends to be fair. But it's not really fair for reasons we're going to look at in future lessons. So to sum up, to a Marxist, the point of schools for working class kids is to use good, obedient workers.